Breaking right now, the emergency situation on the runway at Newark Airport. A JetBlue plane making an emergency landing after reports of smoke in the cockpit. The FAA saying passengers had to evacuate using slides. The airport in a ground stop. The breaking details just coming in. Tonight, new possible leads in the Nancy Guthrie case. The list of names and photos investigators are now showing local gun shop owners. The DNA going through genetic testing right now. Could that lead to a suspect in a matter of days? We break down how the tech works, plus what investigators now say about the theories Nancy was taken over the border. Also breaking tonight, the skiing tragedy out west. 8 people confirmed dead and 1 skier still missing after the deadliest avalanche in California's history. A group with professional guides buried in the backcountry. 6 people found alive. Our team on the ground as brutal conditions slam the region. Raging wildfires across the Southwest, including fire tornadoes. Buildings, even this bus engulfed in flames. People racing out of their homes. Plus, Bill Caron's tracking a possible nor'easter this weekend. The scandal rocking a congressional race. A Texas representative accused of having an affair with an aide who took her own life. How he's responding. High-rise rescue 2 workers left dangling after their scaffolding collapsed. How crews finally got them down. And trapped inside the game, you'll remember a toddler rescued after getting stuck in a claw machine. Tonight we speak with his mom about the moment going viral. Plus, secret Cuba talks. Is the U.S. in backdoor conversations with a member of the Castro family? We speak with the reporter who has the exclusive. Top story starts right now. And good evening. We are coming on the air with breaking news. A plane making an emergency landing at Newark Airport in New Jersey, forcing a ground stop at the international hub. Passengers forced to evacuate the plane on slides. NBC's Tom Costello has been tracking this for us. Tom, tell us what you know.
As we speak, Tom, this was a JetBlue flight 543. It was actually going from Newark down to West Palm Beach. They left at about 5:30 p.m. and then developed some issue while in the air. So they came back and landed at Newark at 5:55, according to the FAA. The pilot was reporting some smoke in the cockpit. They came in, and he then requested fire rescue to take a look at the #1 engine. That's the left side engine, to make sure that they didn't have some sort of a fire in the engine. That's why you have that response right there. They did evacuate passengers down the emergency chutes. We've been looking at just kind of the video on social media. We don't see any evidence right now that it is anything other than an orderly evacuation down the chutes. In other words, right now, no indication that we've seen yet of anybody injured. The FAA telling me they would like to reopen Newark within the next hour or so. It depends on how quickly they can clear the emergency vehicles off the runway and then make sure that that plane is out of the way. But obviously right now that's the #1 priority, making sure the passengers are safe and then they can clear the runway as quickly as possible. It probably came in, Tom. I'm looking at the runway diagram for Newark. You got runways 4 left and 4 right, and then if you come in the other way, it's 22 left and 22 right. I'm not sure which one of those 2 they came in on, but right now they're taking up a lot of real estate as you have the emergency response there on the ground.
And Tom, before you go, it is protocol during these emergency landings like this on the runways to sort of shut down the airport at that point?
Oh, absolutely. You don't want to have emergency traffic dodging incoming planes, right? So they have to shut it all down. And Newark doesn't have the luxury of some other big, real estate airports like Denver, for example, where they have multiple runways on the other side of the airport. Newark doesn't have that. So if they have an ongoing emergency like this, they simply have to shut it down. Plus, you've got the tower, very concerned and consumed by what's happening right there on the runway. They don't need a distraction of dealing with more traffic as well.
Okay, Tom Costello first on that breaking news. Tom, we thank you for that. We do now want to turn to our other major story, the desperate search for Nancy Guthrie, and the new leads investigators are chasing down. First tonight, we have an update on that DNA found inside the home that so much hope is riding on. The Pima County Sheriff's Department confirming that the DNA, which they believe belongs to the suspect, is currently being analyzed at a lab and is being put through a process called investigative genetic genealogy. It's a relatively new technique. The first high-profile case it helped solve, you may remember, the Golden State Killer. It was also used to track down the University of Idaho murderer Brian Kohberger. Tonight, you'll hear from multiple DNA experts who will break down how it works and how soon we could get answers. Another key detail, authorities are focusing on the gun and the holster seen on the suspect in the surveillance images. Remember, they're a little strange. Two different local gun shop owners telling us investigators came to their store with a list of names and even photos of potential people of interest. Could the style and the position of this weapon lead to the suspect? The reward for this case doubling after an anonymous donation to Crime Stoppers, another $102,000 being offered in addition to the FBI's $100,000 reward. And just developing as we come on the air, NBC News confirming the Sheriff's Department and FBI have been in touch with officials on both sides of the border to share information about the investigation, that according to officials briefed on the case. The FBI, local law enforcement, tirelessly pursuing so many different paths until they find one that will break this case wide open. We will stay on this case until they do just that. Leading our coverage once again, Liz Kreutz on the ground in Tucson.
Tonight, as investigators zero in on the unknown DNA found at Nancy Guthrie's home, NBC News is learning more about how they're also canvassing gun stores across Tucson, trying to identify the armed suspect. Owners of two different gun shops tell us investigators came to their store with a list of names, 3 to 4 pages long, including photos of potential people of interest.
This is one of those stores. The owner tells us he didn't recognize or sell a gun to anyone on that list. The other owner tells us on the list he was shown, all the photos were of young to middle-aged men.
Meanwhile, the sheriff says the unknown DNA found at the home is a mixture, which can take a long time to process.
The fact that it may be a mixture, to me, is even more compelling because that is so common in violent crimes. And we know there was some type of altercation that caused Nancy to bleed. And so hopefully that meant she fought back and was able to create a DNA sample that can be used for analysis.
The sheriff says they're now turning to investigative genetic genealogy, using public DNA databases, not private ones like 23andMe, to try to identify whose DNA it is.
Was the DNA sample taken from a place that it's possible the suspect could have been?
I'm not going to get into its actual location, but yes, we believe that we may have some DNA there that may be our suspect.
In recent years, genetic genealogy has successfully identified other high-profile criminals like the Golden State Killer and University of Idaho murderer Brian Kohberger. In that case, it took several weeks to find a match.
Her kidnapper should be very afraid because he's definitely going to be identified through this method if nothing else works. It's really just a matter of time. It's going to be hours, days, or weeks, but he's going to be caught.
All right, Liz joins us once again from Tucson. Liz, Tucson, as we know, very close to the border with Mexico. At this point, do investigators believe Nancy was taken over that border?
Yeah, Tom, the sheriff from the very beginning has maintained that there is no evidence or reason to believe that Nancy was taken across the border. He did say in an interview this week that it's possible she was taken to Mexico, but just like it's possible she was taken to Flagstaff. We do know from two officials briefed on this case that law enforcement has been in touch with officials on both sides of the border since Nancy disappeared. They do say that that is standard practice in missing persons cases. And the sheriff also says that they do have entry and exit data from the border, which he does believe is also something they're looking into. Tom.
Okay, Liz, we thank you for that. Let's bring in our law enforcement experts tonight. Candace DeLong is a former FBI profiler, and Chip Massey is a former FBI hostage negotiator and special agent. We thank you both for being here tonight. Candace, I want to start with you. You worked on the Unabomber case. Ted Kaczynski was able to evade police for nearly 2 decades before the FBI was able to track him down. Ultimately, it was a tip from his own family, his brother, who recognized the writing style and ideology in the Unabomber manifesto. I even think it was his sister-in-law who first got the sense to call somebody. That led to Kaczynski's arrest. Do you think there are family members out there who know who the suspect is?
If not family members, then quite possibly an associate, a neighbor, somebody they grew up with, somebody they associate with now. And they, as long as they are found to not be involved in any way, they would be eligible for the reward if the information they provided led to that person's arrest and that person was the right person.
Where do you think the suspect is hiding out? Do you have any idea?
No, but there's a lot of talk, of course, about the Mexico factor. And people may mistakenly think that if the offender goes into Mexico, he's free and clear. And I do say he deliberately. I don't think this was a woman at all. That is not true. Mexico and the United States cooperate with each other in solving crimes and if somebody commits a crime in America, goes to Mexico, FBI agents in Mexico work with police there to apprehend the person and bring them back to America.
Chip, we know from Liz's reporting that they're going to gun stores, they're showing photos, they're giving names to these gun store owners. Explain to our viewers what you think they're doing. We've always mentioned sort of that gun and that holster. Do you think police, the FBI, know at this point what gun they're looking for?
Oh, most definitely they do, Tom. And this really is great news, right? Because now we have names and now we have pictures. So the fact that they're going to these gun stores, and we know gun stores keep meticulous records about the people that buy from them. So they're doing some due diligence here. And the amount of names is fantastic. That tells us that they are developing leads out there. Now, the holster is interesting, right? Because the holster doesn't fit the gun. It's ill-suited. And the positioning of that holster,
well, explain that. Explain that. You say it's people that don't know firearms. Talk to us about how it's ill-suited.
Sure. It appears from this video frame, from that caption, is that it doesn't entirely fit. It looks like the holster is too small for that. So what they've done is they've identified the make and model of that holster, and likely the make and model of that weapon. And they're going to the stores in that local area to find out who has purchased that weapon, and where that holster is available.
Look, I give them credit for trying everything, right? They're chasing everything down. Is this sort of a needle in a haystack? Because the guy could have been from a different city, could have been from a different state, right?
Absolutely. Anything is possible.
Different country. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
But the reality is that this guy felt comfortable enough where he was to do this crime. It takes a little bit of surveillance. It takes, like I said, a level of comfortability to be able to say, I'm going to go into this particular home, and I'm going to do the most violent act that's out there, and I'm going to feel like I can get away with it.
Yeah.
So there is a degree of that.
Do you think this person is still in the U.S.? Do you think they may have crossed the border?
If they have crossed the border, Tom, just like the previous official you had on, we have excellent relationships. The FBI has LEGAT out there, and we work hand in hand with them. They are right there going with it.
Candace, the investigative genetic genealogy, it's a new tool at the disposal of the FBI. How much faith do you have in the system?
I have a lot of faith, but it will only work if someone genetically connected to the person that left the DNA at the crime scene is in a database somewhere. But I mean, as was pointed out earlier in the show, one of the most notorious serial killers in the country, the Golden State Killer, was caught by genealogy DNA analysis. So I'm a believer.
Yeah. What do you have any, Candace? I think this might be the first time that I'm on with you, at least since I came back from Milan. Do you have any theories about what this guy wanted to do? We know he's armed. He's fully in disguise, going early in the morning to this 84-year-old's home. Do you think it was robbery? Do you think she was targeted? What do you think he wanted to do?
I think she was targeted, and statistically, it would be for ransom or possible. That's the most likely thing. When people over 80 are kidnapped and taken out of their home, 98% of the time, it's for ransom, or the offender was in some way known to the victim, maybe a former caregiver, maybe a delivery person, a friend of someone that knows the person. I worked a kidnapping once, and it was the family's housekeeper's son who just casually mentioned to the wrong person, hey, my mom works for these really nice people and they're wealthy. And they got the idea, well, let's kidnap her. I do not think the vast majority of kidnappings that make the news are women and children who are kidnapped for the purpose of committing a crime of interpersonal violence on them, a sexual assault of some kind. But we almost never see that when somebody is of the age of 84.
All right, Candace.
So I would say ransom. It's for ransom.
All right, Candace, I'm sure we'll hear more from you in the days ahead. Chip, we thank you for being here tonight. Our other major breaking headline tonight, the ski tragedy in California. A massive avalanche burying a group of backcountry skiers, leaving at least 8 people dead and 1 still missing. At least 6 people were found alive, and right now rescuers are battling treacherous conditions to find that last skier in what authorities are calling a recovery mission. Our Morgan Chesky has more.
Tonight, rescue crews battling brutal conditions in the high Sierra, powering through up to 8 feet of fresh snow, searching for a missing skier, now presumed dead. Their group of 15 trapped when a snowy mountainside gave way, caught in an avalanche the size of a football field. Authorities confirming while crews rescued 6 people overnight, today's search teams found 8 experienced skiers dead.
Someone saw the avalanche, yelled avalanche, and then it overtook them rather quickly.
Authorities say the danger isn't only from the nonstop snow and near whiteout conditions, but the fact it's falling on a weak, unstable layer, driving that avalanche risk up across a vast portion of the entire Sierra.
Officials say this group was run by Blackbird mountain guides to a popular area known as Castle Peak, the group on their final day. But just days before, Blackbird posting this video on Instagram with the caption, "Big storm incoming." The company says they are working in full coordination with authorities to support the ongoing rescue. Tonight, the community here grieving.
This is devastating. It affects us all.
The avalanche threat not isolated to California. In Europe, stunning video from avalanches in Italy and Switzerland this week. A stark reminder of the sheer power and unpredictability of mountain winters. Back in California, as rescuers race to find that remaining skier, an avalanche warning now extended.
Morgan and his team have made it to Truckee, California. You can see the snow is still falling there. Morgan, you mentioned the 6 skiers that were rescued overnight. Do we know anything about how they're doing?
Yeah, Tom, we know of those 6 that were rescued, 2 were checked into a nearby hospital to be treated. Since then, authorities confirming that one of those individuals has already been released and the other is expected to survive this horrific ordeal. Meanwhile, as the snow continues to fall here in Truckee, search crews continuing to search for that lone missing skier at Castle Peak. Tom?
Okay, Morgan Chesky first. Morgan, we thank you for that. For more on the avalanche and the recovery efforts, I do want to bring in Ethan Green. He's the director of the Colorado Avalanche Information Center. He's also worked in ski patrol and as an avalanche forecaster. Ethan, we thank you for joining our show tonight. Crews are going out in extremely tough conditions to recover the last skier. What is that process like?
Well, this sounds like a especially complicated rescue, and really you can think of it as kind of a large logistical effort. They have tons of people, it sounds like it's excess of 50 people, lots of equipment, and they have to move them in very difficult weather conditions into the backcountry to try to perform this work. So, of course, the safety of the rescuers is paramount, but they have a lot of issues that they have to navigate in order to complete this task.
There were serious avalanche warnings from what we understand when this group was led by professional guides and they set off on their trek. It had been snowing heavily. Based on your experience, is it normal for backcountry skiers to go out in these conditions?
Well, at high avalanche danger, which is when that would trigger the avalanche warning, we recommend that people don't go into avalanche terrain. So that's different than going into the backcountry. Going into the backcountry may be a very reasonable thing, but certainly staying out of areas that can produce avalanches is what we would recommend. Of course, in a guided scenario, you have trained professionals there, and part of what you're relying on them to do is to make those assessments and kind of fine-tune some of those travel plans and logistical efforts.
Walk us through what exactly happens in an avalanche and what made this area vulnerable to a slide.
Well, I don't know this area that well because I'm in Colorado, but avalanches and the deadly ones like this one, a slab avalanche, they release on generally open slopes, so free of vegetation, that are steeper than about 30 degrees, which would be similar to like a black diamond run at a ski area. We do see spontaneous avalanches from big loading events like this. So a big snowstorm, lots of wind drifting, you're piling all of this weight on top of the snow. And if you do that really rapidly, that's sort of the weakest link in the chain, like something's going to break at some point. But most of the avalanches that kill people in the United States are triggered by somebody in the party. So not necessarily a weather event, but you have the conditions in the snowpack sort of primed, and just a little bit of extra weight, that skier moving onto the slope is enough to trigger that avalanche.
And then, we know that all the skiers on this expedition were carrying avalanche beacons. It's a radio device that helps locate people who get buried. How do these devices work exactly, and what else can people do to protect themselves when they're in the backcountry?
Well, these avalanche beacons are really essential equipment. And just like you described, it's a small device that you turn on in the morning and everybody is transmitting a signal. So you're just going around all day transmitting that signal. And then if there is an avalanche, the rest of the group can turn their beacons on to receive, and that allows them to pick up that signal and pinpoint somebody's location. If somebody's buried in an avalanche, the whole scenario looks very different. Like the whole terrain can look different from before the avalanche and after. It can be very disorienting. So finding somebody and locating them is really tricky. The other things that you need to carry are a probe pole, because once you pinpoint their location with the beacon, you don't want to spend a lot of time digging. Avalanche debris is really dense. It's not light and fluffy snow. So you want to use this collapsible probe pole to figure out exactly where somebody is, and then you need a good shovel to dig them out because that debris is going to be really dense.
Yeah, pretty wild. Ethan, we thank you for talking to us tonight here on Top Story. We do want to turn out to the wildfire emergency unfolding in the Southwest. Parts of Oklahoma engulfed in flames. Take a look. Fast-moving wildfires are burning through homes, buildings, even this bus. The flames consuming more than 150,000 acres, prompting evacuation orders. Powerful winds and intense flames are forming these fire tornadoes. Look at that. And right now, the threat is far from over. Let's get right to NBC News meteorologist Bill Cairns, who joins us live. Bill, this is a serious situation for so many in the Southwest. What are you tracking?
All winter, Tom, it's been amazingly warm and dry, and we are just ripe for a horrendous wildfire season. The fact that we're seeing it already this early in, the spring season, quote unquote, in the South is ridiculous. 71 in Tulsa, it's 57 in Chicago. So it's warm, it is windy, it is dry. We have a fire burning in Iowa. There should be snow on the ground this time of year in Iowa. And we have numerous fires that we've been tracking during the day today. So we have one fire weather warning that is left. It is just north of the Amarillo area. There was another one up here by Borger. This fire warning has been dropped. So when I say fire warning, during severe weather season, you get like tornado warnings, severe, thunderstorm warnings. These fire warnings mean that these are traveling at like 3 to 5 miles per hour, and they're trying to give everyone a heads up if the fires in your general direction are spreading your way to get out of the way. This is about 20 miles to the northwest there of Amarillo, Tom. And tomorrow, the same exact area from Oklahoma to the north portion of the Texas Panhandle is at risk.
Yeah, and then let's get back to California for a moment. The region bracing for another storm to take aim.
Yeah, so obviously we have one more person to try to recover from that avalanche, and it's going to be difficult because the snow is already starting to pick up, and we're going to watch a heavy dose of snow and rain later on tonight, all through early tomorrow. We're estimating at least another 1 to 2 feet of snow where that avalanche occurred, and the avalanche threat is going to be very high for the Sierra, also the Wasatch Range, and now there are avalanche warnings in effect for areas of the Colorado Rockies, too, all on the heels of this big, gigantic storm.
And before you go, we've had so much snow here in the Northeast. It's still on the ground in so many parts. Could we get hit with another nor'easter?
Yeah, so all this mess from the west is heading to the east. It's going to take a while to get there. So one piece goes through Friday, another one Saturday in the southeast. It's going to meet some colder air. There's a lot of disagreement. I wish I could tell you for certain or not if we're going to get this nor'easter. We do know for a fact there will be a powerful storm, like a nor'easter-type storm. We're just not sure exactly how close to the coast it's going to be or not. Right now, our American computer model is saying a glancing blow. Our European computer model is saying that it's going to be out to sea. This is the snow forecast for the European model, Tom. There's nothing. So it's still a debate. We know there's a gigantic storm. Give it a day or two. We'll pinpoint it for you and help you plan your end of your weekend.
Okay, Bill, we thank you for that. We're going to be back in a moment with dramatic testimony in that landmark social media trial. Mark Zuckerberg facing questions over whether Meta's platforms are harmful to kids, what he said on the stand. Plus, a powerful congressman now facing allegations he had an affair with a staffer who later took her own life, how he's responding. And the terrifying incident caught on camera, a mother and her sons hit by a car as they walked down the sidewalk. What happened? Ahead on Top Story. We're back now with a landmark social media trial in Los Angeles. Mark Zuckerberg taking the stand and coming face-to-face with grieving families who say social media is designed to be addictive and it destroyed their kids' lives. NBC's Laura Jarrett has more.
Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg arriving at a Los Angeles courthouse today to a barrage of cameras and grieving parents from around the country.
I want accountability.
Parents who say the social media empire Zuckerberg built is purposely addictive and dangerous for kids.
The intention of the company was to prey on teens, exploit them so they can make greater profits.
The tech giant and Facebook founder combative at times on the stand, dismissing the idea that his main goal was to maximize the time teens spent on Instagram, saying that's not how we run the company now. Zuckerberg repeatedly confronted with company presentations and internal documents suggesting he's known for more than a decade about the popularity of the app among young children. One report from 2015 estimating that over 4 million Instagram users were under 13, while the Meta boss emphasized safety features in place now, like age verification. Meta, which owns Instagram, has denied any blame for the harm that's been alleged by the now 20-year-old woman at the center of this landmark trial, who says she developed depression and anxiety from getting hooked on Instagram as a young kid. And she's not the only one. More than 1,500 lawsuits with similar claims remain pending, like Lori Schatz, whose daughter Annalie died by suicide at 18.
All these kids should be graduating and getting married, and they fell into the trap of a design product that killed them.
As for what comes next here, Tom, it's worth noting that Instagram is not the only major company potentially on the hook legally here. The YouTube founder also expected on the stand in the coming days. Back to you, Tom.
Okay, Laura, we thank you. Still ahead on Top Story, more on the urgent search for Nancy Guthrie, how investigators could be turning to genetic genealogy as they look to track down a suspect. We're going to dig a little deeper. Plus, the growing crisis in Cuba and the new report claiming the U.S. is now talking directly with a member of the Castro family. What we're learning. But first tonight, you know it's Top Story's top moment time and the incredible buzzer beater for this high school senior in Arkansas. Mekhi Lewis, known as Man, is the team manager for the Ashdown Panthers. And up until last Friday's senior night game, he hadn't played a minute of basketball for the team. But thanks to the coaches and players on both teams, Man finally got a shot. Take a look. It took a few tries there, but when Man sank that three-pointer, you saw the crowd going absolutely wild. The coach tells us he's now a campus celebrity. Man, you are the man. Stay with us. We're back now with the latest on the desperate search for Nancy Guthrie. As we told you at the top of the broadcast, investigators now turning to genetic genealogy to try to identify the suspect. NBC's Aaron McLaughlin has a closer look at how it works and the cases it has already helped people solve.
Tonight, law enforcement hoping a key tool will help them find Nancy Guthrie.
We believe that we may have some DNA there that may be our suspect, but we won't know that until that DNA is separated, sorted out.
In an interview with our Liz Kreutz, Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos says he might be deploying genetic genealogy, which compares DNA extracted from a crime scene to DNA databases, using familial matches to narrow down the search. In the case of the unknown DNA found inside Nancy Guthrie's home, the sheriff says the DNA samples are mixed. And because of that, genealogists say the process could be more complicated.
Genealogy is really good with low-level DNA, degraded DNA, but it's not good with mixtures. The bad guy has to be the major contributor, and he's got to be very clearly a major contributor.
Genetic genealogy has played an important role in cracking open notoriously difficult cases. In Idaho, convicted killer Brian Kohberger's DNA was found on the knife sheath next to one of the 4 college students who were murdered back in 2022. Investigators say they found Kohberger using genealogy after the DNA of distant relatives led them to the Kohberger family trash can.
A DNA sample was taken from him, and it matched the DNA found on the knife sheath next to Maddie's body at the crime scene.
Back in 2018, investigators in California used genealogical websites to identify potential relatives of the Golden State Killer based on DNA collected at the crime scene.
The answer was and always was going to be in the DNA.
That search led them to zero in on Joseph D'Angelo's property, where they found DNA on a tissue in a trash can.
And we were able to confirm what we thought we already knew,
that we had our man.
Experts say the process can take seconds or even years. It all depends on who is in the database.
Does he have cousins? Does he have relatives close enough in the database that we can sort of knit all those people together into a family kind of network and find out where he belongs? We don't know till we know.
Aaron joins us tonight live from Tucson. Aaron, you know, this whole thing with genealogy, it's so interesting because of what happens here. It's a great tool. And we've talked about this a little bit, but are authorities able to use all the sites like 23andMe? Because I know there's some limitations.
Yeah, the short answer to that question, Tom, is no. Popular sites like 23andMe, according to experts, are generally off limits. Instead, they rely on smaller databases where users opt in. In fact, 23andMe on its website says that it has never provided its users' data to law enforcement and would only do so under a court order. Tom.
Okay, Aaron McLaughlin for us. Aaron, thank you for that. Now to Capitol Hill and a deepening mystery over a congressional staffer who died by suicide. New accusations that she may have had an affair with the congressman she worked for. NBC's Ryan Nobles has more.
Tonight, Texas Congressman Tony Gonzalez is hitting back, responding to a new report of an alleged affair with a staffer who died in September after setting herself on fire. That staffer, Regina Santos Avilas, worked for Gonzalez for close to 4 years before her death. And now the San Antonio Express-News reporting on allegations she was having an affair with the congressman. In November, Gonzalez denied the two had an inappropriate relationship.
The rumors are completely untruthful. I don't know exactly what happened. No one's contacted me. I haven't contacted anyone.
But in a new statement to NBC News, Congressman Gonzalez does not address the accusations of an affair, instead saying, "I am not going to engage in these personal smears, and instead will remain focused on helping President Trump secure the border and improve the lives of all Texans." According to attorney Bobby Barrera, who represents Santos Avilas' husband, his client believes Santos Avilas was having an affair, which is why they were estranged, and the couple was living apart at the time of her suicide. Barrera did not say what his client's beliefs of an affair were based on. Gonzalez is facing a major political fight this fall. He's locked in a very tight Republican primary. And with or without these allegations, Democrats plan to mount a vigorous general election campaign against him as well.
Okay, with that, Ryan Nobles joins us tonight. Ryan, the San Antonio News just withdrew its endorsement of Congressman Gonzalez in his upcoming Republican primary. Could he face more consequences?
I think that's absolutely a possibility, Tom. This is significant news that the San Antonio News Express chose to withdraw its announcement. They were the ones that furthered the story earlier today. But it could be more than just political consequences for Congressman Gonzalez. There's the real possibility that this matter is then referred to the Ethics Committee. And if the Ethics Committee begins an investigation and determines that there was inappropriate behavior here, it could mean a stiff penalty for Congressman Gonzalez, perhaps even expulsion. The House rules explicitly state that it is against the rules for a member of Congress to have a romantic relationship with a staffer. Of course, at this point, there is no exact proof that that's the case right now, but it is something the Ethics Committee could potentially take up. Tom.
All right, Ryan Nobles for us. Ryan, we thank you for that. We're going to turn now to Top Stories news feed. We start with an update to a story we brought you last night. New photos of the man arrested after police say he rushed towards the U.S. Capitol with a loaded shotgun. Here you can see the 18-year-old wearing a tactical vest and gloves. Capitol Police say he dropped the weapon after authorities confronted him. That man is now facing a series of charges. And scary moments on a flight out of Houston when a man suddenly attacked other travelers on board. Take a look. Flight attendants and fellow passengers climbing over seats to pull the man off the Delta flight this morning. The pilot declared an emergency and returned the flight to Houston. Houston police took the suspect into custody on a mental health hold. Delta says he never reached the plane's cockpit. A frightening incident captured on video and a warning. This is pretty tough to watch. The surveillance camera footage shows a mother and her kids hit by a car as they walk down the sidewalk, backpacks in hand. The mother quickly pulls the children away, but one appears to be struck by the car as it tears across the sidewalk and barrels through a fence. Investigators are still looking at this one. And a daring rescue in Sacramento after two people got trapped while working high up on the side of a building. You can see one of them dangling there on a harness as crews uses a ladder to reach them. saying the workers got stranded about 8 stories high when the scaffolding suddenly broke. We're told both of them were taken safely back to the ground. Okay, still to come tonight on Top Story, a check on all the action from the Winter Games. Team USA getting a big boost from Michaela Schifrin as men's hockey pulls off a nail-biter to keep their gold medal hopes alive. Plus the deep water discovery in Antarctica. What researchers just found swimming in the ocean depths that has them shocked. Stay with us. We are back now with the Americas and the striking new report that the U.S. is bypassing official government channels in Cuba to instead talk directly to a member of the Castro family. Axios reporting Secretary of State Marco Rubio is secretly holding meetings with the 41-year-old grandson of the former leader, Raul Castro. That's according to 3 sources. It comes as the Miami Herald warns of a rapidly intensifying humanitarian crisis on the island as the government hardens rationing policies amid a U.S.-led resource blockade. Poverty and food prices are skyrocketing, 1 pack of chicken now costing a month's salary. And while blackouts are regular occurrences for so many Cubans, last week 2/3 of the country were in the dark. People in the capital city using whatever coal or wood they have to cook. One woman even telling the AP she ripped wood off her door to make a meal for her children. Neighborhoods in Havana littered with growing piles of rotting garbage because most pickup services are suspended. And with diseases already rampant, people sickened by the smell of trash have started burning it, creating clouds of smoke filled with new toxins. Joining me tonight is Mark Caputo, the reporter behind that Axios scoop. He broke the story. Mark, what more can you tell us about those talks Secretary of State Marco Rubio is having and why the administration picked Raul Guillermo Rodriguez Castro over any other Castro? Because there have been reports that Alejandro Castro was another shadow league figure, a son of Raul Castro.
Yes, that report was denied to me, but there are lots of conversations happening at a lot of levels, and so we don't know, for instance, whether someone has actually talked to Alejandro Castro. In the case of Raulito Castro, little Raul, or as he's called, El Cangrejo, the crab, he's his grandfather, Raul Castro, the de facto dictator's bodyguard and caretaker. And Raul Castro himself is 94, whereas Raulito is 41. So not only is he a direct line into the real sort of power behind the throne in Raul Castro, Raulito also is friends with and runs in the same social circles as the Cuban officials who run the giant military industrial business conglomerate that's known as Gaesa. And then in addition to that, he is known sort of colloquially as a businero, kind of a business hustler, a guy who is involved with people who know how to make money and are therefore sort of a little less doctrinally communist and could be perceived, at least is perceived by the Trump administration, as being potentially more inclined to want to open up and have more economic freedom and more normalization with the United States. So those are sort of the 3 factors that go into why they began talking with, we don't want to say negotiating with, Raulito Castro.
Yeah, we have a family tree we want to put up here for our viewers so they kind of understand where Cuba sort of branches off after Fidel Castro. This family tree going all the way back to Fidel and Raul's parents. So pretty in depth here. So, you know, Mark, I do want to ask you, you know, a couple of years ago, maybe even 5 years ago, if a Secretary of State was speaking to a Castro, it would have been big news in South Florida. What kind of reaction is your reporting getting? Because, you know, we'll get into sort of the strategy here, but before the Castros were sort of off limits to Cuban Americans, and you have the most powerful Cuban American now, Marco Rubio, speaking directly to them.
Right. I mean, this really is big national news. Credit to you for covering it. Obviously, you're from Miami, so you understand the importance of that. This is groundbreaking stuff. Marco Rubio does not shy away from being called an anti-Castro hardliner. He is a product of Miami's exile community, a favorite son. And so the idea that he is talking to one of the scions of the Castro family is just really, really big news in and of itself. It has, if you go back in time, a sort of Nixon goes to China quality to it. It's one of these unexpected moves that's being made, in this case by a conservative, with a communist nation to try to bring about some sort of rapprochement, some sort of understanding, some sort of change in policy. And I think there's a pretty good bet that we are going to see a change in policy. Whether or not the communist government in Cuba goes goes along with it or not, at least in the short term, I think might almost prove to be immaterial because the situation on the ground there, as you pointed out, has deteriorated so terribly.
Yeah. You know, Mark, do we know what sort of model Secretary of State Rubio and anyone else in the Trump administration is studying, right? It sounds like, it feels like there might be a pattern here, right, where you keep a member of the government in power. We saw this in Venezuela, while you take out the head of the government. So you still work with sort of a former regime or the current regime for a bit. It is unlike Iraq. It is unlike Afghanistan, where there was complete regime change there, and that didn't necessarily work in those countries. But we have seen this in history priors, right? In Spain, it happened where they sort of worked with a de facto government there as they were transitioning there, and other parts of Latin America. Do we know what they're studying and what they think the end game is here?
We don't. Part of this is the peculiarity of the way the Trump administration operates. It operates with very closed circles and very small groups of people who make a lot of big decisions. And the best I can tell is that they are looking, they say, we're looking for the Delcy Rodriguez. Delcy Rodriguez being the former vice president, now acting president of Venezuela, who replaced Nicolas Maduro after the United States took him. And they're looking for someone of her stature or a few people of her stature to sort of help lead a transition government in Cuba in the short term. They're at the very beginning stages of this, looking for those people. I don't think they've necessarily found enough of them yet. They don't have a clear enough plan yet. And Donald Trump hasn't made a decision based on those plans, which I don't think have been fully submitted to him yet, but it's coming soon.
Do you know what sort of the offer to President Trump is? He could understand Venezuela because of the oil there, right? Mm-hmm. The significant resources that Venezuela has. Besides oil, they have all kinds of other minerals. But what does Cuba have that would interest President Trump?
Well, to begin with, it is geographically incredibly important to the United States and always has been. Thomas Jefferson wanted Cuba to be a state of the United States. Just give you an example of how long Cuba has occupied sort of mental real estate in the minds of American policymakers and politicians. In addition to that, outside of its strategic importance, there is just sort of that personal and political connection that Donald Trump has. The political one, the Cuban-American community in South Florida has been so supportive of him. And they've embraced him, and he's embraced them. And in addition to that sort of political embrace, there's also a personal one. The Bay of Pigs veterans that are still in Miami have a museum, the Brigade 2506. These are the guys that charged over there, sort of got abandoned by the United States under President Kennedy, and those who survived were eventually made their way back to the United States, settled in Miami. Donald Trump has a very sort of personal and friendly relationship with them. He calls them my Bay of Pigs guys. And I think that sort of personal dynamic in Trump's mind should not go underestimated. Last thing, there's just history. The United States has been in a hostile relationship with the Cuban government for 67 years. And various presidents have come and tried to do various things to change that, either by becoming more hostile or, in the case of President Obama, trying to be less hostile and have a rapprochement. In this case, Donald Trump has a real opportunity to make history. He made history in Venezuela, and he can really make history in Cuba, and I think that's going to be an irresistible impulse for him as well.
Mark Caputo, we thank you for coming on Top Story tonight. Big scoop. You can read it in Axios. Got a Top Stories Global Watch starting in eastern China with a deadly explosion at a store selling fireworks. You can see smoke billowing from the burnt-out building. State media reporting at least a dozen people were killed. No word yet on what caused the blast, but this is the second deadly explosion at a Chinese fireworks shop in the past few days as the country celebrates the Lunar New Year. Australian police releasing video of a man appearing to accidentally set himself on fire during an alleged robbery attempt. Footage shows the flames breaking out at a convenience store, and then you can see someone run away with their clothes on fire. Police say a cash register was stolen and that they're searching for the people seen in that video. And a surprising discovery deep in the freezing waters of Antarctica. For the first time ever, researchers say they captured video of a shark. Many experts thought they didn't exist there because the ocean is so cold. Cameras spotted the slow-moving sleeper shark swimming at more than 1,600 feet below the surface. It was another action-packed day at the Milan Cortina Winter Olympic Games. Team USA men pulling off a stunning and sudden death overtime win against Sweden, advancing to the semifinal round in hockey. And it was the win Team USA needed today. American ski legend Mikaela Shiffrin taking home gold in the slalom race, coming back big in her signature event after failing to medal in her two previous competitions. Molly Hunter's in Cortina tonight for us. And Molly, you were there. Let's start with Shiffrin's amazing performance. What was that moment like, and what did she tell you afterwards?
Oh, Tom, it was an epic day up on the Great Tofana Racecourse here in Cortina. To see the best skier, the most decorated skier in the world, basically deliver two near-perfect runs was a complete thrill for everyone, including us. We were losing our minds. We were up in the audience cheering with Team USA fans. But what's so amazing, Tom, is it wasn't even close. So it's two runs, first run combined with the time of the second run. After the first run, she led the pack by 0.82 seconds. After the second run, she won gold by 1.5 seconds, almost 2 seconds. That is an eternity in a sport that is usually decided by 100th of a second. And our friends at NBC Sports looked at some data for us, looked at some historic data. That is the largest margin that anyone has won an alpine ski race since 1998. She was relieved. She was all smiles. We've spoken with her a couple times this Winter Games already about kind of the mental strength. She's had a tough couple of years. She lost her father unexpectedly in 2020. Tom, we know that in Beijing she left empty-handed, which was a huge disappointment. She has failed to medal so far, but she said she was feeling so good. She called her ski runs beautiful today. She just said what happened between the start and the finish was absolutely amazing and beautiful. She also took a moment right before getting up onto the podium. She closed her eyes, and she really, you could see, just kind of take it all in. She looked inward, and we asked her about that after the race. And she said she was taking a moment to kind of connect to her father. It was the first big moment in her life, the first big ski moment in her life that he wasn't around for. And she said that was her moment to kind of really connect with him, talk to him, and she said she hopes he heard her. But it was just an amazing day. Everyone stayed for the medal ceremony. It was exactly the win, as you say, that Team USA needed.
It is what the Olympics are all about right there. Shiffrin wasn't the only American on the podium today. Team USA cross-country skiers took silver in the men's team sprint relay. This is a pretty huge achievement for the pair. Explain to our viewers why.
Yeah, this is a very big achievement. Look, Ben Ogden, Gus Schumacher, both really young, up-and-coming stars on the men's cross-country team. They're 25 and 26 years old. Ben Ogden, actually, already the most decorated man on that team. He's already won a silver in an individual sprint. This was a team sprint, and it's a big deal, Tom, for two reasons. The first ever U.S. medal in this event. But the second is it was a breakthrough win. They have basically kind of shored up a drought of 50 years. The U.S. men's cross-country team has not won a medal for 50 years. So this is a milestone moment for that team.
And then, Molly, there was also a surprise Olympic debut in women's cross-country ski race today. Explain what happened there.
Yes, there was. Check out this picture, Tom. That is a husky who belongs to a local, was not wild, wandered onto the course, chased those skiers across the finish line. The crowd went wild. Very much the star of today's, it was a qualifying race, but very much the star, gold medalist of today's women's team sprint event. Tom?
Molly, while I have you here, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. Are people over there in Milan, I know you're in Cortina, are they talking about at all Norway? You have a country that's about 5.6 million people. It's at the top of the leaderboard. For perspective, it's about the size, a little bit bigger than South Carolina, the state of South Carolina. How is Norway doing so well at these Winter Olympics?
They are always so dominant in the Winter Olympics, Tom. And look, part of it is cultural, and part of it is they do a lot of these sports kind of in their daily lives. Cross-country skiing, for example, they have the best team every single year. Especially the men are performing really, really well. But of course, look, Italy actually does pretty well in the Winter Olympics, but everyone is talking about the Norwegians. And look, Tom, every 4 years, this is when they come out and they absolutely take gold in a lot of these events.
Yeah, they are showing out in a big way. Molly Hunter, so great to have you. We thank you for that. Let's take a look at the medal leaderboard tonight. Team USA, like we just mentioned, they're in third place again tonight behind Norway and host country Italy. When we come back here on Top Story, the adventurous toddler who had a little too much fun slipping away from his parents and wiggling his way inside this claw machine. You'll hear from his mother. That's next. Finally tonight, we all know the expression about being a kid in a candy store, but have you heard about the kid in a claw machine? Our George Solis caught up with the mother of a 2-year-old seen in a now viral video.
2.5-year-old Cooper King may have redefined just what having a ball looks like. crawling into this claw machine with a stunt only a toddler could pull off.
It happened so quickly.
Cooper, unfazed by the commotion around him, just listened to the 911 call made by an employee.
What is the kid doing now? I just want to make sure we keep the kid calm. I know that sometimes he's just chilling in the ball.
Mom Meg telling us it all went down earlier this month at a rec center in Missouri. Cooper was playing with the buttons before wriggling his way inside the machine.
We were just standing right there, and he was having fun, just playing with, acting like he's winning, and he really won by going up into the claw machine.
Pretend play at the machine escalating to a minor claw catastrophe.
What's going on today? I have a child stuck in our ball machine.
What was your immediate reaction when you saw him in the claw machine?
My heart dropped because I was just like, oh my gosh, like frightened, like what's going on?
But Cooper was having too good of a time, which managed to keep Mom and everyone else calm.
Every time we would talk to him, he would just throw balls at us.
Meg says Cooper was in the machine for about 20 minutes while the grown-ups schemed of ways to get him out and snap a few selfies along the way.
When the firefighters showed up, they asked me, they're like, can I take a picture?
Did anyone just maybe trying to use the claw to get him out?
We tried. No, we didn't. But as I joked, I was like, he used all my money already to try and win a ball.
Eventually freed from his personal playground by an employee with a key, Cooper was able to keep one ball and only has this to say when watching his now viral moment played out.
Who's that? And I think it's just a good laugh that this world needs to see right now with everything going on.
The twos, suddenly, not so terrible after all. George Solis, NBC News.
All right, we thank George for that story, and we thank you for watching Top Story tonight. I'm Tom Llamas in New York. Stay right there. More news on the way. We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.